council to order. Begin with the prayer and a pledge. Mr. Dugas, would you lead us with the prayer, please?
In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Lord Jesus, your love brings us freedom, pardon, and joy. Transform our hearts with your love that nothing may make us lose our temper, ruffle our peace, take away our joy, or make us bitter towards anyone. We ask this in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen.
Mr. Olivier, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Tommy Pollard. Michael Landry. Tommy Landry.
Here.
Lloyd Brown. Warren Goshasing. Natalie Broussard.
Here.
Paul Landry. Ricky Gonsalas.
Here.
Joe Dugas.
Here.
Eugene Olivier.
Here.
Brian Napier.
Here.
Berwick Francis. Marty Trahan. Chad Macheran.
All right, we need a motion and a second to go into public comment.
Okay. It's gonna be
Ricky.
and Eugene.
And Eugene. Need a second? Okay, roll call. All right, we're going to a public hearing. 3 minutes per person. Comments from the general public on non-agenda items. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on a non-agenda item? All right, Mr. Herff Jones, Director of Mosquito Abatement District, to provide an update on the status of a grant to the district.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for giving me a few moments of your time to tell you about something that's very exciting that's happening to the district. Over about a 2-year period or so ago, I may have mentioned to you that the district was involved in a capacity and competency survey with NACHO and CDC. That's the Association of County and City Health Officials, which is a little different. And through that assessment, CDC took it upon themselves to take the initiative to seek federal funding to support a hurricane recovery and enhanced capacity grant. You may have heard some of the offerings through the generation of new mosquito control districts in Louisiana, a pilot program for tire shredding that we've talked about before. But one of the most exciting pieces of that was after their assessment, they found that Iberia Parish and Vermilion Parish could gain some great benefit by receiving some assistance in the form of $960,000 to support their aerial operations. And this particular grant will not only support the purchase, acquisition, outfitting of the aircraft, but over the 2-year period will support maintenance, its certifications, pilot, insurance, and all of that. The program is not only to give you a step up, but also to provide you support over the period. At the end of the period, the 2-year period, the districts will actually own the aircraft. Mr. Landry is not here this evening. I had a conversation with him along with Mr. Seguera and Billy Nogle, my counterpart in Vermilion, both the police jury president and the parish council president, through their advice, suggested that we take on this endeavor in a 50-50 manner. We thought that advice to be solid, and that's how we will proceed. So all costs related to operating and maintaining the aircraft after the 2-year period, when it becomes our full ownership, the two parishes will share those costs altogether. When we began to look at the details of what we've been spending for contract services, it was a bit alarming that I felt that I should have been pursuing this more aggressively a lot sooner than today. The difference in the hourly cost from owning our own aircraft has been demonstrated by our colleagues to the east and to the west, and now it's an opportunity for us to get in the game, especially when the capital outlay is zero. That's all I have. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any
those.
questions, anyone? Mr. Brown?
Yeah. All right. Let me make sure that I'm understanding right. You're saying that we're going to get this money and be able to purchase an aircraft. And do we have to come up with any matching funds for this?
No, sir, there's absolutely zero capital outlay on our part. And as a partner with Vermilion Parish, they will be doing the same. You may recall that we have been utilizing the same contractor since 2006. So we're very experienced at cooperating in that manner and providing that service to the both parishes. The aircraft that we intend to acquire will actually be able to service both parishes in the same night if necessary.
Well, I tell you what is good. When we started the program, we did have in mind of owning an aircraft, but which we were going to pay for it. And I'm glad that we come to, after discussing it, that we didn't put this money aside
Right.
to own it. So this is real good. Y'all doing a good
Right.
job.
Thank you. And just to mention that, the savings that we realize, particularly in that particular line item, we can either carry that to the end of the year, or we can decide to do additional spraying beyond what we would normally do. And if you look at our performance and our actuals in the past years, you'll see that we utilize every bit of that line item, if not more, just to make it to the end of the season.
One other question. I know when we were doing private and independent spraying, would we had been available to get this plane if we had stayed like that?
Well, the assessment was targeting public programs. They were also targeting areas that traditionally do aerial operations from year to year. So, yes, they, in that sense, you're right. We would be the only ones that would be eligible for consideration.
Thank you.
Finish, Mr. Kashisan?
Yeah. Mr. Jones, you made that comment about using just enough, but you're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel now coming into 2019. I think in January your tax was up 7+%, and then last month nearly 19%.
Yes, sir.
So you're starting to see some activity in the fund that'll perhaps give you some additional money by the end of the year, correct?
Right. In the aircraft that we will have, that we intend to acquire, will be low time.
Okay.
Oftentimes, the general public thinks that an aircraft is like a cell phone, but it's not. We typically put 100 hours on the aircraft per year. If you purchase an aircraft with 2,000 hours before required engine maintenance, you literally have almost 15 to 10 years before you're pushed against a significant maintenance. And that we have plenty of time to be able to adequately plan for that. But again, ultimately, it was shocking to me to really see the numbers of how much we were spending per hour for contractor versus how much we will be spending per hour doing it our own self. And that's looking at all costs: maintenance, fixed costs, consumables, insurance, pilot, everything.
Okay. Good job. I just wanted to say that for the record,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to
Thanks.
see the activity.
Mr. Gonsalves?
Yeah, Herf, just,
Oh, I'm sorry.
if we had a crystal ball and we knew where the revenue was gonna consistently be gone in the near future, but if we're looking past 2 years, and we still on this quarter cent sales tax, do you think how do you think it'll affect our budget farther out than the 2 years that we have the grant? And do you anticipate that cost rising where the budget constraints may be tightening up?
Right. Looking at what this aircraft costs to operate right now today and extrapolating that out for a 10-year period, and looking at the line item that we have designated for contract services, which is $250,000, we intend to save more than 2/3 off of that. I don't want to give you a solid number because, again, we may decide to use that savings to do more spraying. We may carry that savings to the end of the year, but Mr. Gosselin, it is significant.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dugal?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Jones. One more question.
Y'all gonna raise your hand.
I appreciate all the work you do there. I know I'm in an area that requires a lot of spraying, and one of your comments was that we were about 100 hour spraying per year. So when we get this plane, does that mean we're going to hire a pilot for 100, or we're going to contract that pilot out?
It would be best for us to put the pilot on a seasonal contract so that he is available to us at our need
Right.
and through the spray season. It's not necessary for us to have him as a salaried person throughout that. And no, when we say 100 hours, that's what we've done. That's looking 6 years previous. So that's a pretty fair number of years of experience to be able to make a solid average. If it's more or less than that, no, it'll certainly be. We don't want to put him to a flat number set out.
So you do have pilots available that would be willing to work on a contractual basis like that?
Yeah, absolutely. In particular, we have some individuals that have been flying the airspace for quite a number of years from our previous contractor in Abbeville, and also with the contractor that we're working with now. We have an opportunity to attract him to our district.
Okay, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay,
Yes,
thank you,
Ms.
Mr. Jones.
Ms.
Oh, I'm
Broussard.
sorry. I didn't see it.
He did.
Sorry.
I have a question about the way the tax call is now. Is there a way that y'all can put some of the savings aside for when you have that significant maintenance expense? Or is the tax call makes you distribute it all at the end of every year?
Well, again, Natalie, there are a few surprises when you're operating something like an aircraft. But yes, things do break. So we can anticipate those expenditures on a yearly basis, and then we can also ask for AG opinion if maintaining this aircraft is associated with maintaining and building our program. And previously, they have opinion that we can roll forward funds from year to year, and we, of course, would reach out to get that opinion again.
I have a question, Mr. Chair. Why she asked that? Kurt, don't we have a retention of $500,000 in the budget each year for those reasons?
Well, that's designated for disease response. We can certainly revisit that
So
and
it's just
change
for
the
that, it's
lake.
not flexible at all?
We like for it to be just for that purpose.
Okay.
The council, when it originated, was adamant about that language. But if there is a consensus amongst the council to alter that language, the district would certainly be favorable to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. I don't think there's anyone else. Appreciate that. Oh, I'm
No.
sorry, Michael.
And if we retain stuff, we gonna split it. If something would happen to the aircraft, we're gonna split it between Dominion Parish.
Yes. Those will be through MOUs, CEAs, and IGAs, which are very easy to also formulate very specifically down to everything that we need to address those situations.
Good, okay. I'm good. Thank
Anyone
you.
else? No? No names left on here. Okay.
I think that's everybody.
Thank you, Herb.
Thank you.
All right. Number 2, comments from the general public on agenda items. Persons being considered for appointment to parish boards and commissions to address the council. Let's see, first we have Mr. Desatel.
Thank you. My name is James Desitows, and I'm applying for reappointment to the Iberia Parish Fire District Number 1. I've just completed the first part of a 4-year term and requested to be reappointed for the next 4 years. I had served previously several years ago on the commission, so I have a good working knowledge of what goes on with the fire district. It is something you have to, kind of learn as you go. It's not something you just walk into. Part of the stuff that I was a part of was the, getting the new training center and fire station built at J.K. Darnell and Highway 90. And I was also on the board when we hired the current chief, Guy Bonham. So based on all that, I would ask that you consider me for reappointment to the commission for another 4 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Pat Carlin, for appointment to the Acadiana Fairgrounds Commission.
My name is Pat Carline. I have been with the Acadiana Fairground Commission for approximately 4 years. I've done a lot of work with them. I implemented the sound system that's in there now. I saw that everything that we had to put in. I ordered the equipment. I saw that the equipment to be set up properly. I'd be in Lafayette and they'd call me and say, well, we have a problem. I actually turn around and go all the way back just to make sure it's working properly, because when they have events going on, you want to make sure that everything is working properly. I think we have everything working properly now, and I would like to be reappointed to the board for the next 4 or 5 years so that I can add other things that they're going to do. They use me as the technology person because I was a technology teacher and technology coordinator. So they use me a lot for the technology side of things that are going on at the arena. We want to try to see about implementing an enclosure for all the sound equipment, because we know that sound equipment gets a lot of dust on it, and that's what damages the sound equipment. So that's one of the things that we're looking at, trying to make sure that equipment stays well, so we don't have to replace anything. But as of right now, we've gotten no complaints of the way the sound system works. I have a lot of ideas that I'd like to bring to the commission. So I would like to put in for another 4 or 5 years as a new appointment. Thank you.
Thank you for what you do out there.
Thank you.
Any questions? All right, third speaker, Ms. Milliman, in relation to resolution summary number 33.
Hi, everyone. The Go Red for Ed campaign is a rally. We are letting parents, grandparents, and community leaders know that the public education system is being robbed. The public education system here in Iberia is the foundation of Iberia Parish. I'm sure you all know that and realize that. That's why you are supporting me, and I really appreciate it. For the past 12 years, politicians have stopped fully funding public education. We have had enough of doing without, watching teachers and support staff become the working poor. We want better for our children, for everyone. We want better for our community. We have to make public education fully funded. We have to put children first. So march with me, and that march is on March 25th. Monday after school, 3:30 to 5 at the City Park. We're having a preliminary march on Saturday, right before the Festival of Live Oaks, from 7 to 8. And we'll also have a booth out there at the festival if you'd like to come and see what we're all about. But the resolution, Go Red for Ed, is basically saying, hey, we've had enough. Political leaders need to take notice. Your people are no longer meek and quiet. They're going to stand up and fight for the children of this community.
That's it. Thank you so much. Ms. Broussard?
Yeah,
Ms.
I
Melman?
just wanted to thank you for your efforts, and I wanted to congratulate you on being selected Teacher of the Year for Westgate High.
Really?
Thank you, Miss
job.
Natalie. I'll tell you what, that's a hard accomplishment for a teacher that's itinerant. I'm not at Westgate all day. I go to Bell Place and Anderson Middle. So it was a big deal. Thank you.
Great job.
Any other questions? Sure. We have so many. My husband's sitting over there. Lloyd Milliman, my best friend and my supporter, and Jim Crode. He's with the Louisiana Association of Educators. We are a professional teaching organization. We like a trade union for teachers. And over here is Debbie Locke. She works for the Iberia Virtual Program at NISH. And then we have Jared Bro. He is a NISH mathematician and my backbone. And right here we have Patricia Cahey. Patricia, where do you work? NISH. Oh, she also works at NISH. I have so many supporters. You guys, we have over 250 people in our association. And next we have Miss Virginia Lewis. She's the librarian. Leslie Lewis. I always mess that up. She's the Anderson Middle School librarian. And Carmelita Roberts. She works in Jeanerette with kindergartners, our littles. And she's exhausted. we are teacher tired, but we are on fire. We want to make a change. It's got to be done. What time is it again? Yes, the march is on March 25th from 3:30 to 5. And we have a preliminary march this Saturday at the festival, right before it starts from 7 to 8. Well, we need to decide how to approach the public. You know, if a camera crew comes to you, what to say, 'cause we get all nervous. But we want to make sure we get out the right. Thank you, sir.
25th.
Mr. Richard.
25th.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. All right. Michael, I'm sorry.
I just want to, I'm telling you, I'm behind the support. My wife has been a educator before we got married, my daughter, my sisters. So I think we all need to get behind them and really support them for this one.
I think so too. Okay, that's it. We need a motion and a second to close public comment. We have a motion by Eugene, a second by Mr. Pollard. Okay. Next is reports, finance, and administration. Oh, roll call, I'm sorry. That motion passes, okay. Reports, finance, and administrative action, there are none. Reports, parish or other governmental agencies, monthly billing report dated February 2019. That should have been in your packet. Public Works reports, Public Works Department report for closed work orders dated February 18th to the 22nd and February 25th through March 1st, 2019. That was emailed. Special business, we have none. Council member announcements, are there any council member announcements? Eugene? Mr. Olivier?
Thank you, Tommy. I'd like to briefly give you an update on my Washington trip with NACO this past week. The NACO Legislative Conference in Washington was held last week. It was filled with daily steering committee meetings, subcommittee meetings, business meetings, general sessions, and policy meetings. Also, Capitol Hill visits. My main focus was to participate in the Transportation Policy Steering Committee meetings, highlighting federal transportation policies which affect coastal communities. We received legislative updates on policies which affect our local parishes from a number of speakers from the Trump administration. I also attended the Gulf State Country Caucus meetings, the Parish Caucus meetings, and the South Region Caucus meetings. Topics discussed such as the federal flood insurance program, proposed updates to the waters of the U.S., rules and regulations. Also work with members of NACO on the use of our country's Explorer tool, which can be found on a NACO website. Other meetings involved speakers from the Federal Communication Commission, U.S. Department of Energy, U.S. Census Bureau, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Departments of Veteran Affairs, U.S. Economic Development Administration, general session with United States Secretary in Housing and Urban Development, Ben Carson, Steve Cage, co-founder of American Online, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Sonny Perdue, and U.S. Senator Marco Rubio, just to highlight a few. There was, of course, quite a bit more. I also made several Capitol Hill visits, attended several briefings on Capitol Hill with NACO officials, NACO members from around the country, as well as Louisiana. The overall conference was a great experience. Policies we discussed do affect local government. We must continue to voice our concerns to federal officials to make sure they hear what the problems and issues we face every day in our local communities. Thank you very much. That's my report.
That's it? All right. Parish President announcements, Larry, you have anything?
On Friday, March 29th, LSU Ag Center is going to be selling bar crawfish right in the parking lot right here. So if any of you guys want some bar shrimp, I guess I need some bar crawfish then. Anyway, that's going to be in the parking lot on the 29th of March. Iberia Parish Public Works Department, we did serious work this week, catch basing work in District 13, and let me rephrase that, wasn't this week, that's the last 2 weeks. Cleaning culverts in District 3, 5, 6, 8, 9, 12, 13, and 14. We picked up debris in various districts. We had some trees that was down in District 9, we took care of that. Field drainage work was done in District 11. Roadside drainage work was done in District 9, 10, and 12. Road crossing work was done in District 10 and 13. We had patching work done in District 9, 10, and 13, and road repairs work done in District 8. We're going to have a household waste day on April the 29th from 8:30 to 12. April the 27th from 8:30 to 12:30 right behind the courthouse where we normally have it. At this particular time, I'm going to cut this short because Dax with Fence the Maker is here to give you guys an update per your request on your request for drainage that's been performed, or drainage analysis that's been performed by Fence the Maker.
Good evening, Council. It's been a while, so good to see y'all. At the request of Mr. Richard, he wanted me to just give y'all an update on some items. If you recall last year, I talked to all of you about looking at the parish's drainage channels, and in particular, we did a little study just to see, if you recall, which channels in the parish would be susceptible to the greatest impact in terms of just cleaning channels, which channels would be the most sensitive and provide a positive benefit. If you recall, out of that, there was a couple of channels identified. We made a presentation. Long story short, and it was based on some numerical modeling that we had did just to kind of gauge which channels, to try to make some kind of objective approach in lieu of just picking which channel to go would get priority. Long story short, there was some channels that we identified: the Blanc, Segura Branch, and Delahousie Canals, along with Park Perdue and some others, but Park Perdue is being looked at through a separate project. In that process, we began to create construction plans for doing a public bid to bid out the cleaning of the Blanc, Segura, and Delahousie Canals. And at that time, I met with the parish's Public Works Department, Herman, and through their efforts and their utilizing their in-house staff, they began to clean some of these channels themselves, which was good. Back in the summer of last year, I had estimated that the cleaning of these channels in their totality would be about $1.1 million. Well, with the efforts that the parish made with y'all own in-house staff, the new revised estimate to clean the remaining pieces of these channels would only be, I say only, would be about $600,000. So definitely the in-house staff took care of some things, and is going to, save y'all some costs. And correct me if I'm wrong, basically those portions of the channels that the parish did themselves was channels that they can easily reach with the type of equipment that they have. Whereas these channels are going to require, these pieces of the channels are going to require a little bit more type equipment, etc. So just a little quick statistics. We finished the plans back in November in discussing with Mr. Richard. It's a bad time of the year to be bidding a project with the winter time. So we said, well, let's just wait and see. Let the winter time go, and we'll readdress this in the spring, depending on when y'all have the available funds to go out for bid. But it is ready to go out for advertisement. It's just a matter of when the parish and administration allocates the funds for it, which is, I guess, a separate discussion. Having said that, we'd be looking at cleaning about 28,000 feet of channel. Now, that's not 28,000. That's in some portions of the channel, we're only cleaning on one side, some, on both, et cetera. We're looking at about 5.3 miles of channel cleaning, probably looking at about 8 months to do. So when we do channel cleaning, for those of you who may recall the T-Bayou project, we're talking about cleaning the banks, we're talking about cutting brush down, and really along and the parish, just to reiterate, the parish has, as I can understand, a perpetual servitude, drainage servitude to be able to get into these channels. Now, that's easier said than done because there's a lot of development, but typically most of these channels are located in rural areas where there's not a lot of development, and we think they can get out there and do some good. High level, generally speaking, cleaning channels can increase your flow efficiency by as much as 20%, high level, without doing any kind of fancy type analysis. It's just I think it's I've always did say that it's on one hand it is a parish's responsibility, but on the other hand, that's a large geographical area. So to think that a parish can have the funds to do all its channels all at one time, I think is not being realistic in our expectations. So I think the wise thing to do is pick which channels have are sensitive to cleaning and needed the most, so to speak. And that, of course, that can be subject to opinion. But anyway, that's the process we went to. I do think it was objective based on to some degree scientific. I hate to, drainage doesn't have to be complicated. But I do think at the end of the day, we need to keep our channels as best as possible clean in terms of cleaning and keeping down the overgrowth, et cetera. So any questions on that? I just wanted to give you an update. As far as when we advertise this, that'll be up to the purchasing department. And of course, the funds. I think Mr. Richard is working with another outfit to secure some grant money. So that'll it's like when anything else. The good news is when you get grant money, you got grant money. The bad news is you got the grant money. So you gotta just be patient. It's not money that's on the table that we can just cut a check and. So any questions?
Oh, yeah, Dax, these canals you're talking about, you have any idea when's the last time they've been cleaned?
Nope.
And how often would you recommend that type of cleaning?
Mr. Dugas, that's...
Well, I mean...
No, it's a good question, but it's also a question that it would be very...
20 years, 5 years? I mean, no number.
I couldn't tell you that.
Okay.
I mean, in all honesty, I think part of the reason I'm hesitant is because channels are, we've seen channels where we have trash, debris thrown in there. There's some portions of the channels when we did T-Bayou, nobody even knew. I suspect that on one portion of the channel, it was completely clogged with trash, literally created a dam. I was there, I physically saw it, where the water level was 1 foot higher on this side than on this side. It was a dam. So that was just during a hot summer day with no rain, and that was cleaned in the T-Bayou project. So that probably had some immediate relief. So that's why I'm hesitant to answer, because there's part of it is just natural growth, trees that grow, and there's part of it that's induced by just human littering. So that's why it depends. I think like anything else, I would think and hope, and that the parish and maybe Herman can allude to that they on some occasion ride these channels, look at these channels, and make some decisions based on just good judgment calls. So.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Anyone else? Mr. Richard, are you finished? You good?
Yes.
Mr. Gonsalves?
Larry, I read the press release, but how many days is Nelson Canal potentially be closed? I had a few phone calls on it.
That's the railroad department. It could be done in 1 day, but
it's open again tonight. Okay, I didn't pass. I had a couple calls.
It could be done in 1 day, but then again, when they do work, it's the railroad department. It just depends with them. It could be 2 days. It could be 4 days.
Okay.
It's open now.
No, they closed it.
Well, they're closing it at. They're going to close it at tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning, yeah, they will.
They could close it tomorrow morning.
No, I had a couple phone calls and I didn't know the time.
And I asked the same question to the railroad, and they said, we could finish the same day, but it could go overnight, so they didn't want to give me no time at all. So I put it the way they wrote it.
Mr. Macharan?
Good question, though.
Dax, you mentioned Port Purdue. Any updates on that?
Yeah, interesting. So if y'all remember, I came, I think it was probably the last time I came, with some good news that we kind of fought hard to successfully be part of I think it was $25 million of money that came down through the emergency funding through the August floods. Long story short, I think it's through GOSEP, which, long story short, Iberia Parish, from what I recall, probably obtained the biggest magnitude of that bucket of money in the order of about $5.3 million.
Yep.
And that is to look at regional ways we could help drainage, not eliminate flooding, but reduce flooding potential by adding different things that from a regional approach. For example, detention ponds, big storage areas that when the water rises up in like Bayou Park, Purdue, it could spill over and dampen that until that rain event passes. At the same time, I also presented the fact that Bayou Park, Purdue drains into Lake Panier, and I think there's only about 6 inches of water. That's how much Lake Panier at the mouth of Bayou Park, Purdue has silted up. Having said that, like I said earlier, the good news is you got the grant money. The bad news is you got the grant money, and there's a lot of red tape to go with it, and it's nothing negative. It's just the reality of it. This is all ultimately from FEMA. I will tell you, there's been some progress made, but not much, and I'll tell you that's by design. Working with the GOSEP folks, there is some strategy in those projects that were more advanced or are more advanced than we have right here in Park Purdue. For example, the city of Youngsville. Bayou Park Purdue originates in Youngsville. And we know that there were, 300 plus homes that flooded, et cetera, but they were already more advanced in having the models created, doing their benefit cost analysis. So just high level, when you get this money, you have to prove that your benefits outweigh your costs. So if you add up all your benefits and you divide it by all your costs, you have to be at least 1.0. So if it's less,
not gonna work.
you may have been temporarily said that you got this money, but it's going to be retracted. And there's some merit to that. Don't do a project that really you can't show the benefits, right? I can tell you they're having problems from what I understand, speaking high level in the Youngsville area and some of the other projects, they're having problems getting the benefit cost ratio to be at 1. And so what they do is a tremendous task. You got to pull any houses that have been inundated. You got to pull property value, appraisals. You got to look. It's a tremendous amount of data research that's involved with this. So I would say let's not lose hope. I mean, the good news is we on the books for obtaining $5.3 million of that $25 million, which I believe was the biggest magnitude. There were several projects, 10, 15 that were approved. So I've been asked to attend a meeting with the Acadiana MPO this Friday amongst the engineers that represent each of these projects as a technical discussion about, hey, what are y'all experiencing in Youngsville, so that we can try to do it right the first time in this application. Hey, what are y'all experiencing in Vermilion Parish? And another one of my coworkers where I work, she's doing 3 of the projects for the city of Scott, and they're going through some same hurdles. So just bear with it, and if we get it done, we get it done, Chad. I mean, but certainly that's the intention.
Yeah, and you might want to pass on to them again that Youngsville was supposedly ready to rock and roll as far as when we got the money, and that's why they were nominated or whatever, recommended to go first. And they're having some concerns, big time concerns,
right,
with what they're doing now. Hopefully, when the Youngsville get their game plan together, we can actually learn from the issues that they're having right now. So when it's our turn,
let me without getting too detailed, because I know you got a lot of agenda items, but it's important to realize what happened in August is by all practical means it's an anomaly. Okay, we can talk about it all day long, but I think we all recognize 23 plus inches of rain. The problem is FEMA doesn't look at August's flood as a repetitive flooding event. So this money is to help the region in terms of repetitive flooding that repetitive. So they only look at like a 100-year storm, which is only like 10 or 12 inches of rain. So all those houses that flooded in Youngsville, for example, from what I gather, and then this is I certainly I don't believe those can be counted in determining I don't believe those can be counted. because of the August storm. And that's the problem. Because for a 100-year storm event, I know this sounds crazy. You say, well, man, if I didn't flood, and why does FEMA look at, if you flooded it in a 1,000-year storm, like 23 inches of rain, FEMA only wants data on repetitive flooding that occurred in storm events that are around the 10 to 12 inch mark. I know it sounds crazy, but it's about repetitive flooding. In other words, what happened in August, statistically speaking, I mean, anybody raise your hand if you remember 23 inches of rain in 2 days. I mean, I think some areas had 30-something inches. So money's not going to be allocated for that one-time big event. You know what I mean? So that's the problem we're going to have, is that we're going to have to look at data and pull data in the parish's files from people that has had repetitive flooding problems based on a storm not of August, but more of a more of a 10 to 12 inch type storm event. So anyway, that's what we got to go through. Apologize, but that's just the way it is. So.
Yeah, I got a quick question. Maybe you, Dex, or Larry. Have we identified if we're going to have to come up with a match portion of that?
Want me to answer?
Go ahead.
Supposedly, we're going to have to come up with it, but the governor is saying that he may be able to use money from the big monies that's actually coming in, the 1.2 billion or whatever it is.
Yeah,
So
to
the
be honest,
answer is
typically
we're
a match is
supposed to do it.
required. So Larry is correct. But I will tell you, from what I've heard, I don't know what the governor's going to do, but here's the deal. The good news is you get $25 million, but then now all of a sudden, the entity that has gone through the tests and through we spent some time and effort representing the parish. I presented several times to win this project. There was 30-something projects at the table, and we made the top 10 cut. I think we were number 4.
Right.
My point is, so the good news is you got the money, but now the local entity has a burden that they never planned on. So you can imagine, I'm no politician, but Larry is certainly, from what I gather, is pushing this hard as I think he should, and not just him, but the other parish presidents to say, hey, something got to be. I mean, you give me this money, but then now I got to pay 25% of it that was never in my budget. It's almost as if it's like a curse.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
so
anyway,
that's
something if that's the case, and we don't know for sure if the governor or whoever is going to require to match it, but if we do, I mean, we have to start thinking about
And we are, believe
down
me.
the road to make sure that we have a match for that $5 million.
Yeah, we're gonna have to watch. I'll tell you another thing at play here. There's this big thing going on right now
Thank
about
you, Mr. Chairman.
regional. All these parishes, all the parishes in the state do their own thing. Everybody manages stormwater differently. If you go to Youngsville, they manage it off a 25-year storm. If you go to Lafayette Parish, it's 10-year storm. They got stuff all over the place. So I predict that there's going to be some authorities coming down that's going to actually be the authorities for a whole drainage basin that makes everybody do the same thing and hold to stricter rules and regulations, and not let the influence of I don't want to say developers, but just the development of land take a precedence over the effects that it could have negatively towards drainage for existing citizens. So there's a push. I can tell you that's going on, and this might be all in line with what Larry's talking about this match maybe going away. Who knows? We don't know for sure, but certainly it's on the table.
That's being discussed.
Yeah.
That's it. Mr. Trahon?
Yeah, Larry and Dax, I appreciate what y'all doing on the upper level of promoting this and fighting for us. I've been in some of those meetings, and I really appreciate what y'all do. Thank
you.
y'all.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Consent agenda items for public hearing and adoption. Go ahead and read them out. Minutes, regular meeting of February 27th, 2019. Summary number 29, introduced by legal counsel. A resolution authorizing the parish president to execute amendment number 1 to the master agreement for ground ambulance. Summary number 30, introduction by Paul G. Landry, District 7. A resolution of condolences to the family of Miss Kim Dugas Ryan, sister of Iberia Parish Councilman Joel J. Dugas, who passed away on March the 3rd, 2019. Summary number 31, introduced by Parish President. A resolution amending the 2019 general fund budget in the amount of $41,836 for the following grant projects. A, to correct project carryovers for SHSP 2019 in the amount of $25,764. B, to carry over unspent grant funding in the amount of $34,800 for LGAP Technology. And C, to provide for grant funding award in the amount of $32,800 for LGAP Coroner's Van. Summary number 32, a resolution amending the 2019 Waterworks District Number 3 fund budget in the amount of $166,589 to provide for FP&C grant project. And summary number 33, introduced by Ricky Gonsalas, District 8, a resolution supporting the Go Red for Ed campaign as proposed by the Iberia Association of Educators and Louisiana Association of Educators. I need a motion and a second. Motion by Mr. Gonsalas, and a second by Mr. Trahan. Does anyone want to pull anything out?
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Landry,
Sir.
on summary number 29, that's actually amendment number 10 rather than 1.
Say that again?
It's on summary number 29.
It's amendment.
It's actually amendment
Oh,
number
10, okay.
10
I got
rather
it.
than amendment number 1.
Anyone else? All right. So, what do we do here now? Okay, I need a motion to,
Nah,
Just say number 10.
motion to do this. Motion to accept excluding 33. And second, okay. Roll call. All right. Now we'll go to 33, Mr. Gonsalas. We have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Ms. Broussard. Yeah, go ahead, you can read it.
Yeah, on summary number 33, I just want to make it short, everybody heard teachers step up and plead their case. I just think that, as government officials, we always want to represent and try to stay prudent on the cornerstones of our community, and schools are truly important along with other aspects. So I would truly ask that we get a unanimous second on this issue, and support all our teachers and our bureaucrats for the great job we do.
I'll make that second, unanimous second.
All right. So go ahead and vote your machines. Object. Roll call. Add motion. Mr. Brown. Add motion passed. Okay. All right. Resolutions introduced for public hearing and adoption. Summary number 34. Introduced by Parish President, a resolution amending the 2019 Public Buildings Maintenance Fund budget in the amount of $181,194 for the following parish-funded project carryovers. A, second floor renovations in the amount of $146,805. B, courthouse in the amount of $20,000. And C, public works facility in the amount of $14,387. I have a motion by Mr. Trahan, second by Mr. Broussard, and discussion, Ms. Broussard, I'm sorry. Discussion. Mr. Trahan? No? Mr. Gonsalas? You wait. Roll call. Mr. Gonsalas? That motion passes. Summary number 35, introduced by Parish President, a resolution amending the 2019 royalty fund budget in the amount of $1,192,886 for the following grant and parish projects. A, to carry over unspent federal grant funding in the amount of $594,364 for HMGP house demolition. B, to carry over unspent state grant funding in the amount of $52,074 for CWEF well improvements, WW3 Water District, Waterworks 3. C, to carry over unspent parish funding in the amount of $339,187 for Hayes Road Bridge, and to carry over unspent parish funding in the amount of $207,261 for water improvement projects near McLean subdivision. I have a motion by Mr. Gonsalas, a second by Mr. Trahan. Discussion. You waive? Waive. Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 36, a resolution amending the 2019 Parish Drainage Maintenance Fund budget in the amount of $66,800 to provide for carryover of funding for engineering fees for studying of Port Perdu, Norris Branch, de Blanc Coulee, Petitance, and Delahousie Canal, channels and canals. Have a motion by Mr. Trahan, a second by Mr. Mathurin. Discussion, Wade. Mr. Gashusen?
This is the, Kim, on the, on this one, is this the remaining balance that we owe?
This is the remainder of it.
The 200,000?
Appropriated.
Okay. So, once he's completed and got back with you with the report completely, we'll finish off the balance that we owe him on the rest of these canals? Is that? For the study, correct. All right.
Anyone else? Roll call. Brian. That motion passes. Summary number 37, introduced by Parish President, a resolution amending the 2019 road projects construction fund budget in the amount of $8,015 to correct carryover funding for Brewer Estates and Belterre respectively. I need a motion by Mr. Olivier, second by Ms. Broussard. Discussion? No discussion. Vote. Roll call. And motion passes. Summary number 38, introduced by Parish President, a resolution amending the 2019 Public Library Fund budget in the amount of $290,803, all to be funded from the fund balance previous year's line item to provide for the following. A, carryover construction funding in the amount of $199,950,000 for the Coteau branch, carryover construction funding in the amount of $31,036 transfer between line items in the amount of $24,319 for the Lorville branch, and C, carryover of building repair funding in the amount of $40,000, $817 additional funding needed in the amount of $4,000 for the Lydia branch, and building repair funding in the amount of $15,000 for the St. Peter's branch. Have a motion by Mr. Mathurin, second by Mr. Olivier. Discussion? Roll call. That motion passes. Summary number 39, introduced by Eugene Olivier, Senior, District 10, a resolution requesting the Louisiana Department of Transportation and Development to install merging lane signs on South Louis Street near the intersection of Louisiana 83 Weeks Island Road. Have a motion by Mr. Olivier, second by Mr. Landry. Discussion? Mr. Landry?
Waive.
Roll call. I need a motion for adjourn.
Mr. Landry.
Oh, I'm sorry. You need to vote one. Motion by Ms. Broussard. Second by Mr. Lee. Sir.
I was told by the parish president and Fistamaker here is that on the original question about the canals that we were studying, that wasn't just the study, but that was actually the cost analysis to go out for bid also. And I just want that to be stated in the record. Thank you.
Okay. Moved by Ms. Broussard. Second by Mr. Brown. Don't want to take a break. Oh, roll call, I'm sorry. Mr. Brown?
Brian.
Marty.
Chad.